Welcome back, ladies and gents. This is another episode. This is AJ Forbes, and I am with Noah Ambiel as always. What's up, Noah?
How's it going, AJ?
Oh, just peachy, man. We got football, dude. This is well, we
We
we are at we are in one of the best parts of the year now, where we just have constant football on.
and it's just really good football too. It's not just like there's football, I feel like during the season, like all the time, obviously. And I think the end of it too makes me really want to appreciate these next couple weeks, few weeks especially. But it's just one of those things that, like you said, is every day now. It's like we got two college games leading into the NFL playoff slate. And man, what a time. I do love this
Yeah.
time of year. So you always got to have the weekend free this time of year and just no plans. Just no
Yep.
plans besides me, the couch, TV, maybe a beer. You just never know.
No, I love it. I love it because like you said, we're coming to the end. We got the semifinal games coming up, starting on Thursday, with college football, and then we got the NFL slate coming. First round of the playoffs coming this weekend, so it's gonna be a great weekend. I'm stoked for it. We are going to talk about the college football playoff. We had the quarterfinals going on last week. There was a lot of storylines to catch up on. One of the main ones is the fact that every team that had a bye week lost.
It's crazy. It's insane. Who would have thought?
Who
It's
would have
just one
thought?
of those it's just one of those things. I think at first everybody's kind of shocked when you say that just because usually those top four seeds are usually the best teams, right? Like if you're in the NFL, the Chiefs got the bye and the Lions get the bye. Like those are arguably two of the best teams in football, obviously. And so I think in the NFL you get so spoiled because it's like that 1 week off, then you go into it, and then here in the college world you have the four teams, and it's like you're looking at the four, and you're like Oregon, definitely the best team in the country as the regular season went and everything.
For
Then you
sure.
looked at Texas or Georgia, you're like, yeah, like I get it, makes sense. Then you saw Boise State, Arizona State. I'm a big fan of both those programs. Don't get me wrong,
Yep.
but the way it had to be a conference champ in that top four kind of limited like getting the best four teams to buy, which I think causes some of these matchups where you got like I mean, was Ohio State's eighth in this, right?
Yeah.
There, yeah, like, it's just you're causing a lot of like a lot of upsets technically, but once you put them on the field, you kind of see who's who. I think at the end of the day, you got to beat everybody no matter what.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to go on any given day, and it's a long wait period for sure. Those 3 weeks, especially when the team played the week before, but
Yep.
there's there's no excuse. You should be ready to go, and you got to get your guys in that. It's hard to do. I couldn't imagine doing as a coach, but like Georgia looked the best out of all of them to start to get out of the gate.
Yeah.
Really, and that's because I feel like Kirby Smart's been in that situation so many times, and he knows kind of more. It's like I assume it's more of like a fall camp type of schedule they're on, where it's
Probably.
like because you don't have school or nothing, like
Yeah. Explain what a fall camp schedule looks like to everyone who doesn't know.
7 a.m. to 9 p.m. straight football, baby. But it's just
That's about the most succinct way, most positive way you can describe a fall camp.
it really is. But really, fall camp. I mean, you're just going through like usually. I mean, I doubt they went to like this extent of like all day,
Yeah.
but it was like it was like breakfast from 7 to 8 somewhere in there, and then you went to your first team meeting, and then you went to your position meeting, and then you had a walkthrough, and then you hit lunch, and then you go to practice, then you hit dinner after treatment, getting your pads off, everything. Then you go back to position meetings, you break down the film from the practice that just happened, and then you go, believe, back to another walkthrough, if I
Yeah.
remember right.
Yeah.
Then you come back for another team meeting,
Yeah.
do the whole song and dance, and then next thing you know, it's 9 o'clock, your day's
Yeah.
done, and
Yeah.
just a nice little 13-hour day. Nothing wrong
And then
with it.
you
Shout
and
out,
then you
Coach
do
Out.
and then you do it again all over the next day
Yeah,
and the next
that
day and the next day.
that's
Uh
fall camp. That's like 2.5 weeks sometimes.
oh
Like
yeah. Oh yeah.
it's a brutal
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah,
And they
no,
throw some. Those coaches know how to throw some fun stuff into it too.
They
Don't
do.
get me
They
wrong.
do.
Trivia night, whenever we did trivia, always a good time. Nobody ever got the questions right, but you dang learned something. You know, never
uh,
forget that the
we,
University of
we
Montana was in the Tokyo Bowl
yeah,
playing, I believe it was Army or Navy. I can't remember which one,
I can't
but
remember.
never forget
Yeah,
1984, I believe.
we will always remember that Cumberland Georgia Tech score and our it is burned into our brains.
Yep,
222 to nothing, the highest scoring game in college football history. Will never be
yep, and
touched ever again.
nope. And then you'd get the question. This made me think of it last night watching NDSU and Montana State play. It made me. They executed one of the situations that Coach Howe goes over so perfectly. That punt at the end of the game, like you was like
Yep.
well, you're taught under 2 minutes, and this would be like a typical trivia question like Coach Howe would do. Like we're under
Yep.
2 minutes, we're punting, the ball's bouncing. What do you do? Like,
Hmm.
and then so NDSU yesterday punt the ball. 10
Yep.
seconds left, I believe. The ball's just rolling there. MSU had no returner back.
Yep.
Bold strategy when Taco Dowler is so lethal back there, by the way.
Hmm.
I get it though. Block punt's probably the most realistic way to score, and if Dowler's back
Yep.
there, they're just kicking out of bounds. But whatever.
Hmm.
Um, Ball starts rolling, and you see all these NDSU players just watching it roll,
Yep.
watching those seconds tick off. Then the
I mean,
minute that, oh, it was
I
perfect.
remember like during fall camp we would go to the bathroom for our like a millionth bathroom break because we were trying to stay hydrated. And you're at the urinal and then you look up and there's like a list of special teams questions that you would that you would have to be ready to answer for. Luckily, I never had to answer any because offensive lineman we didn't we just went to a longer position. You think, but
Dude, I
no.
remember when I was playing tight end or ND line, I had to like remember those, and
Oh yeah,
I just was I had to be like it was one of those things that felt like you had to be ready that they
you
would
had to be
ask that
ready.
like any moment. Like that's
Yeah,
one of those things that'll like just come to you in practice see if you know it's no
yeah.
fall camp. You make some good memories with the fellas, but those fall camp eyes, man, they go crazy.
So let's talk about some of these quarterfinals here. We got Ohio State, Oregon playing in the Rose Bowl. I mean, it wasn't even close. The final
Dang.
score was 41-21, but like, I mean, just the 20 points. I mean, that's a lot in a playoff game. 20 points is a lot in a playoff game, and really any game. But it wasn't even near as close as what that score makes it seem. Ohio State jumped on these guys like nothing. Like coming into this playoff, and like you said earlier, Oregon was the surefire best team in the country. They were the only undefeated team in the country. They had been rolling everybody. They had an inauspicious start, but I mean everybody does. They
You'd
were the
rather
best
be
team in,
rather have that the start be like that than the end.
exactly. And they did Oregon got jumped, brother. Like it wasn't even I remember I was sitting at just a sports bar with my family watching the game. I felt like every time I looked up it was, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. It was like 20 at one point it was like 28 or 24 nothing, 31
But
nothing.
by the time you got like if you didn't have multiple screens going, by the time you got done watching the Peach Bowl, Ohio State was already up 7-0 and had the ball back. Like it was unbelievable. And like one thing about Ohio State, especially their two playoff games, they did the same thing to Tennessee. They're just like, we
Yep,
think our guys are better
exactly.
than yours, and we're gonna come out and
Yep.
jump you. And I think there's a whole I don't know what changed between either like the Oregon game when they played earlier after the Michigan game. I don't know when it changed, but this
Hmm.
Ohio State coaching staff just decided we have the better roster and we're just gonna let the ball go out there and we're just gonna go play and we're gonna
Hmm.
go aggressive. And it's just everything's changed all of a sudden. I mean Jeremiah Smith's been as advertised. Like, has anybody had a better besides maybe like don't get me wrong, Cam Scadaboo had probably we'll get to him later.
Yep.
Best college football player performance maybe ever by a single person
Yep.
in a losing effort. But this
Hmm.
Jeremiah Smith guy, this guy, man,
I mean, he
he's
warned us. He warned us before the game. He was like, "Hey, you play single coverage on me, it's gonna happen." And then he ends the game with 7 catches, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, career high in catches. Granted, he's a freshman, right? But he's been a freshman sensation this year. He's widely considered the best wide receiver, one of if not the best wide receivers in the country. Travis Hunter, you did not deserve that Biletnikoff award, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Nick
But
Nash.
Nick, exactly. But like they just Oregon just decided to not cover it.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
it's
it,
and especially with a guy like Dan Lanning, who is a defensive guy, you would think that okay, hey, this might be the best receiver in the country. Let's bracket this guy. Let's put a couple let's put a couple pairs of eyes on this guy. No, it looked like single coverage the whole game, and he made him pay. He almost went for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was insane.
I almost think it's because he didn't go crazy in the first game that they thought they could just get away with it again.
Do similar things in the second time
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was bold strategy from the get go. This was all Ohio State just the whole time.
I
And
know,
I got a lot of Duck fans in my life, and I just felt bad.
I
Just
know.
like, what do you say? Like the other team just came out, played better, and won the game. Like that was flat out what
Straight up,
happened. And
straight up.
so and then I hear these people, it's not even Oregon fans, honestly. I just hear these people that are like, well, Oregon shouldn't have been playing Ohio State right away, blah, 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 whatever. This playoff system's not right, blah, whatever. Either way, you got to beat everybody. I don't care. You
Yeah,
have to beat, like, whoever's in your path, you have to beat them. You
yeah,
cannot criticize Penn State getting this far because they played SMU and Boise State, and you can't just do a 180 on that. Be like, well, why
yeah.
is Oregon playing Ohio State? Like, you got to beat everybody. You got to be ready to go from the jump. And I do think it's a tough situation having this bye week be like 3 weeks or whatever it is by the time they played again. I do agree that's a tough situation to be in.
Hmm.
Like maybe not to try to fix the playoff or anything. 16 teams, everybody, all the top seeds gets a home game, and you go from there. Like no buys, just because then everybody's on the same schedule. Everybody's
Yeah.
on the same routine from conference championship week on,
Hmm.
But I think routine is a big part of college football. Like everybody gets into that routine
Yeah.
during the season
Oh
where
yeah.
you know what every day is, and then you have 3 weeks where you really don't know how to handle it sometimes. But
Yep.
yeah, so I'm tired of seeing that comment very much. I can't stand that comment. Go out, win your game. That's all.
Yep.
Like at the end of the day, that's all that matters. We're gonna look back at this playoff in 5 years, maybe even next year, and be like, oh, Ohio State killed them. Like it's
Yep.
not gonna be like, well, Oregon had 3 weeks. It's not gonna be like, oh, the bracket
Yeah.
wasn't right. It's not gonna be
Yeah.
that. It's gonna be Ohio State came in and killed them.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the situation, say in all fairness, whatever the playoff was, they met in the national championship game, and then Ohio State does this to Oregon. You still lost, like you said. You have to beat everybody, regardless of the situation. You have to go out and prove that you were the number one team in the country, and they didn't at all.
No,
They looked terrible, frankly.
they did not
But
look good. They did
but
not
I
look
mean,
good.
besides that, besides uh just the whole format controversy and Jeremiah Smith, there really wasn't a whole lot else to talk about when it comes to this
Yeah.
game. So we'll
Yeah.
leave it
The
at
thing
that.
is, yeah, just appreciate the playoff. This is awesome. What we got going on is awesome. Just appreciate it. Watch football. It's great.
Exactly. Next up, we got Notre Dame. They ended up beating the hell out of Georgia, 23-10 in the Sugar Bowl. Another game that again was not as close as the score made it look. I think the big talking point coming into this game was the fact that Carson Beck was going to be out. He ended up. It sounded like he ended up tearing his UCL in his throwing arm, which sucks for him. Uh, hoping he gets better pretty soon because it sounds like he might be having the opportunity to do a lot of really good things going forward. However, Gunnar Stockton seems like a guy. And despite the fact that Georgia lost 23-10, he played very well. I will say he played very well. Uh,
He that guy can sling it. I I I I really believe in Gunner Stockton. Like I might be getting Miller Mossed again. I really believe in Gunner Stockton going into next year. I think he's a I like I've already thought about the Heisman bet I will have on Gunner Stockton next year. They already added the Branch brothers. They got Zachariah Branch coming into town. I know that's
mm,
next year stuff. But looking at Georgia in the future and you got Gunner Stockton watching him play that game, I think you should be excited about what's to come in the future. But man, that Notre Dame defense, that defense is they force turnover like that. like you mentioned, like Stockton was doing his thing, and then you have your senior running back that you transferred in from Florida fumble the ball going in to score. You're going like you could have took the lead early, or like
Yep.
it's just
Yep.
they shot themselves in the foot too much, and it just that end of the first half, start of the second half for Notre Dame was unbelievable. It's
And
just
and
they
and
were
and,
the
and
yeah
I get Kirby Smart trying to send the message that he's specifically talking about that last drive that they had at the end of this at the end of the first half. I understand his message of trying to be like, hey, we're confident in our quarterback. I think we can make a drive at the end and try to score some points. But you have to understand, like, oh man, that poor left tackle, dude. I mean, I
didn't touch
hated
him,
seeing 57 give up that
didn't
many
touch him.
sacks. That I
Oh,
mean, it just it killed me watching that, man. But so he had a tough game. You have to understand, like that is a pure passing. You're not going to get a 50-yard draw. You're going to have to protect, and you realize that your offensive line is not protecting your quarterback right now. Just run the clock out. It'll be fine. It was just, I mean, that was a 17-point surge
and
between at the end of the first half going into the second half. I mean, that was a big swing in the game because Notre Dame ended up scoring right off of that sack
yeah,
fumble.
they scored 17 points in 46 seconds, I believe the
Yeah,
stat
yeah,
was.
yes. And then they ended
Continuing
up
over to the second half with the kick return for a touchdown. That how did he
yeah,
score? I have no idea. Again,
no idea.
that's another like you got to make that tackle, and that's special teams like played a big factor in this game too. But like special teams in football, I don't care what level it is in the playoffs, will win or lose you games. Like if
Absolutely.
you can make special teams a wash in a game, you gotta feel pretty good about it. But if you like no turnovers, didn't lose that much field position, whatever. But that special teams can be a weapon, especially in like you really realize it in this part of the year,
Yeah.
especially. But yeah, Georgia's O line did not hold up well at all, and I think Notre Dame is a wagon right now. I do agree with that. Unfortunately, they do. They should on the podium if they win the national championship. Thank Duke for their quarterback and one of their edge rushers. Both Duke products. Duke football would have been in the playoff. We still had them both. Only lost 3 games this year. Paid our quarterback $8 million for next year. Duke's gonna be back. It'll be fine. Um, but yeah, this Notre Dame team, man. Not
And,
these are the two. No, I'm not a big. It kind of hurts me a little bit giving Ohio State and Notre Dame this many flowers, but they
yeah.
like I am a guy that can admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong about both of these, and I just both these teams are seems like a collision course to the national championship right now. But
I mean, yeah,
dang,
I exactly. I mean, I feel like I can speak for, I know for both of us, but then most everybody out there in the country, you have an Ohio State fan or a Notre Dame fan in your life somewhere, somehow, and you are just sick and tired of hearing about how good their team is right now, and you're just ready for it to be done. That is
yeah,
us right now. So either way, going back to Notre Dame, like we talked about, special team was awesome. Their defense was really the real star of the show when it came to this game. Riley Leonard was fine. He had 90 yards passing, 80 yards rushing. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot, but Notre Dame's offense is not built on his ability to really make plays happen. They are built to run the ball. Jeremiah Love being hurt, we thought that might play a factor as the game went by, but it ended up not. He used his legs when he needed. Riley Leonard specifically, he used his legs when he needed to. Notre Dame ended up having 240 yards of offense, which it's not nothing to scoff at, but it's not like it's a huge a huge number, especially in today's age of college football. Um, they're gonna need to play better. That offense will need to play better. They're not gonna get handed 17 points like Georgia did in
no,
this game coming up. But we'll talk about
no,
that in a second.
yeah, that was. I mean, and that is. Like usually he throws more than 90 yards, Riley Leonard, but that is the perfect Riley Leonard game.
It
You
is.
like that is how he plays. Like that's how you win football games with Riley Leonard as your quarterback. You're not. It's not like you're like everybody's gonna look at that box score and see how did they win a playoff game with throwing under 100 yards. And it's just one of those things that they are
Defense and
physical.
special
They
teams.
Yes, and then they grind it out, and their offense does what they need to get their defense to rest, and then when their defense does force a turnover, they score. Like that is the biggest thing. When that defense forces a turnover, that offense is going to find a way to score.
Yes,
Also,
absolutely.
huge for them that Jeter made all three of his field goals this week because that guy
Huge.
earlier in the year was struggling, but he did have a groin injury on his kicking leg while he was trying to
Yes.
kick field goals, but
Yeah.
he was struggling. So it's good
Hmm.
to see him
I
put a
know
few
they,
through the uprights.
I know they were talking about that on the broadcast about how his dad was a chiropractor and he traveled up to to South Bend to try to. I'm not sure how a chiropractor helps with a groin injury, but I don't
Ashton Sean.
know. All right, moving on. We got Penn State. They ended up beating Boise State 31-14 in the Fiesta Bowl. These past couple games, we've been talking about how the score didn't dictate how really bad of a beatdown it was for both of those teams. 31-14, you would think that Boise State got crushed. They really didn't. Going in, I think, what was it? Halfway through the third quarter, it was 17-14 Penn State. And then Tyler Warren caught a touchdown pass. And then Nick Singleton's big run in the fourth quarter. That's what really put the nail in the coffin to end the game. Boise State was, I mean, there was a Cinderella run for them. We thought the Fiesta Bowl magic was going to come back for our beloved Broncos and our gracious King Ashton Genty. Uh, but it just didn't happen. Penn State was the better team. If I mean, we all knew coming in, you knew it, I knew it. Penn State definitely knew it that if Boise State was going to advance in this playoff, Ashton Genty was going to have to be the reason why. They packed the box. They had 8 guys in the run fit the entire time. Every time Ashton Genty was on the field, they limited him to just over 3 yards a carry, which, for a guy who was averaging close to 10 at one point at one point in the season, that wasn't great. And then the real for me anyway, the real shame in this game is that Maddox Madsen, who has been awesome throughout this whole year, really struggled. And I think that's really in part of, one, Penn State's defense is really good. Two, they couldn't get Ashton Genty going. He had 30 carries for 100 yards. That's not that you can't live with that, and so you have to throw the ball. He ended up throwing 3 picks, threw a touchdown, but also threw the 3 picks. It was disappointing to see how his game ended up, because a couple weeks ago we were talking about him as a guy who could really push Boise State over the top if he was playing well.
Yeah, and I think with Madsen, I didn't his picks. I didn't like. You never want to throw picks. Don't get me wrong, but like I didn't mind it either. He's trying to make a play for most
Yeah,
of it. Like it's just one of those things where like as the underdog, you kind of have to force it a little bit more. It feels like at times, and you could tell he's benefited this year just from Genty being able to be the presence and everything.
naturally.
But yeah, I think nobody wanted to admit it, but the Penn State team was better than Boise
They
State,
were,
and
they were, they
but I
were.
agree, it was a good performance by Boise State. I agree. I will say, being there, the environment was incredible. It was an awesome place to be, really fun for a while, and then obviously the wheels kind of fell off the bus there. But
Mhm.
no, I think it was kind of what we thought would happen, that they would hang around for a bit, and then eventually you would hope either one, the Magic took over for Boise State, or two, Penn State was just gonna kind of flex their muscle and
Did.
just finish the game like they did. So yeah, not too many thoughts for me on this one, honestly, but it was a fun game. I liked the game as a whole.
How many Boise State fans did you run into at the game?
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. So many. That place was at least 70% Boise State, if not 80%.
Really?
And yeah, there was like a section of Penn State people, like two, three sections of Penn State people, and like the rest felt like Boise State people. It was a cool environment. It was cool, but it was one of those things that it almost felt like Penn State fans knew it wasn't going to be their last game, so like, why would we go? Almost
Yeah,
kind of deal. But
gotcha.
yeah, it
No,
was it was one of those days.
yeah, no, I hear you. And last thing I'll say about this, we've been huge Ashton Genty fans this whole year. 27 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders' record.
They were trying at the
27.
end too. They kept
They
feeding him
were.
late in the game, and
They were.
but
And
Uh,
the one thing you'll see the box score, and you'll be like, oh, because I remember like during the game, yeah, Ashton Genty was getting. I mean, he had the fumble early, which
the
didn't which
two.
did what he had the two fumbles that didn't help his case a whole lot. But he was getting killed on the internet during the game. And after you fumble twice, that's usually gonna put the nail in it for you. But you
Yeah.
watch some of these runs, there is no reason why you should be saying that. I saw people saying Ashton Genty was a bum. Like,
Yeah, there was a
brother,
lot of people saying his draft stock went way down in that, and I'm like,
there's no. I mean, you just look. First of all, he was running into eight-man boxes the whole time. Even if he's saying like a too high look, you can have those safeties come down and they could easily be run fighters, and that's exactly what they were doing. Um, But you just watch some of the runs that he had. He had one like 5 or 6 yard run where he broke like 5 or 6 tackles. I mean, that's an NFL run. I mean, that's
yeah,
what he's going to have to do. So, I mean, you could tell who was a real ball knower and who wasn't based on what they were tweeting out. But I wish he got that record. I do. I wish he got that record. I thought he deserved it. If he had played more and in the second halves of games in the fourth quarter, you probably would have got it. You can't look back and say all that, but he is
no,
one of two people now to have more than 2,600 rushing yards in a season. So
it is
congrats to
pretty
him.
crazy. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
That's so many yards.
So, that's so many.
That's so many yards. There's no other way to put it. That is so many yards.
Oh, now I left this game last on purpose because this is really the game.
The
This is really
heartbreaker
the
of the
I
century.
this is really the game of the week. We had Texas beating Arizona State 39-31 in double overtime in the Peach Bowl. Let me just set the stage for anyone who, God forbid, did not watch this game. Arizona State at one point they were down 20, what was it, 24-8?
Yeah,
They were down 24-8 at one point. They
with
come,
with 4 minutes left in the third quarter.
yeah,
No, later than that, maybe.
yeah. No, it was, yeah, something like that. But it was 24-8, and they tie it up at 24-24 with 5 minutes left in the game, and they survive on defense to get it into overtime. All right. Throughout this entire game, Cam Scatterbo coming into this game said that he was the best running back in the country, and you could tell that he was on a mission to try to prove that, especially with the simultaneous Ashton Genty hate coming in, right? Uh, he ended up having 284 total yards. I feel like I'm John Gruden right now, where he just looks over to the side and just reads the box scores. If I had some good music with it, we could probably get a hit here. But it was 200. He had 284 total yards. That's running. That's receiving. He had 99 yards receiving. He had a 42-yard touchdown pass, and the rest were rushing. He had 3 total touchdowns. He had well over 30 carries during the game. I was watching it at my aunt and uncle's house, and I remember my aunt looking at the screen, and she's an avid football fan or whatever, but he kept coming in and out of the game because he was just so dog tired, and she pointed that out. So he left everything out on the field during that game. I don't think he could have really done a whole lot more for the Sun Devils in that.
No, if he could have done more, I don't know what it would have been. It was like I said earlier. I think that might be, if not the best, it is up there for the best college football playoff performance ever. And I don't think that's an over exaggeration what he did for that team.
No,
He
no.
like you're telling me it's 4th and 2 and we're down 24-8 and you got your running back who's about to throw the ball checking his receiver to a go route in the backfield. Like, what are we doing? Like, who allows one? Who what coach allows that to happen? Two, is this really our best play call? Three, how did it work? Like, that is the other thing. That was that was an incredible just individual performance. Arizona State felt like a March Madness basketball team that had, like, in that last few minutes, just felt like all the momentum, everything was going their way. They
Mm,
get, like, they throw the toss for the touchdown.
yep.
Scadaboo throws it for a touchdown. They get a pick on, like, the next drive. And
Hmm.
then Scadaboo, again, he beats his guy on the wheel route, gets
Hmm.
DPI called on the guy, still catches
Get,
it,
gets his head
runs
torn
30
off.
yards. The guy rips off his helmet. He just gets up and mean mugs the camera like a G. Like this guy, man. This guy. That was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then the touchdown that he scored overtime,
Yeah.
the effort from the old lineman just dragging his dead body into the end zone, it felt like. Like how bad did Cam Scadaboo feel the next day is what I'd like to know. But I always wonder that after any Cam Scadaboo game, because if you watch that guy enough, that is like every game he plays. It looks like
Hmm.
that. Not
I
like
mean,
as crazy, don't get me wrong, but like it's some version of what happened in that game
yeah,
every time. Like,
exactly.
and Joe Testor on the call loves Cam Scadaboo. Love that about Joe Tess.
Yeah.
And then you get the touchdown in overtime, and then you have him 4th and 13, and it feels like this is over.
Hmm.
And then Quinn Ewers, man, just cool, calm, and collected.
Dude.
Makes a beautiful, like, just watching that back and watching him check to max protection with his running back and his tight end to stay in because he knows the blitz is coming and make the throw. Like, I know the guy's wide open. You still got to make the throw with 4th and 13, your season on the line. Like, that's,
Mhm.
I think that doesn't get talked about enough. It's not the most impressive throw in the world, but he had the awareness to check it with enough time to still get the playoff, and
Mhm.
two, make the throw when it had to be made. Like, Quinn Ewers gets a lot of flack on the internet, in the college football world in general. I think he shows a lot of things you want in a quarterback for sure.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
so I think, yeah, that game, man, I'll be thinking about that game forever. I think
So,
that was one of those games.
oh yeah. I mean, so answer me this. If you're a defensive coordinator, go ahead and put your defensive coordinator cap on. And you're in that situation, you're in 4th and 13, and you gotta protect 13 yards to to go on and advance to and have a chance to advancing into the semifinals of the college football playoff. Are you bringing a triple A gap blitz into that?
Here's the thing. This is why I struggle with this question because, like, in my mind, I'm like, I'd probably play coverage. But then you see this when it happens and it works, and you're like, you didn't give him any time to get the ball off. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's whatever. I think it's a gut thing. You do what your gut tells you at the moment. And I think, unfortunately for Arizona State, it got recognized early. And they, like, because if they don't, if because that
Yep.
tight end's originally on a
They
route, that
checked.
running back's probably on the
Checked.
route too. If you don't check that, he's done. Like, there's
Yeah.
nowhere to, like, he's just throwing it up and hoping at that point,
Yeah.
where I don't hate it, but it's tough. I don't know. It's tough. I think in that situation, I do. Texas has the better skill players as far as like receiver to corner, and everything like that. Where if you
Yep.
play coverage and you get beat, you're kind of kicking yourself because you couldn't get after the quarterback.
Mhm.
Where I
Well,
didn't hate
well,
it. I didn't
well,
hate
the,
it.
the the thing was, as you watch the game, Arizona State's D line was feasting.
That's
Like
true
that was
too.
one of the main takeaways I got out of the game
Yeah,
was like their D line just just mauling Texas up front. They were constantly in the backfield. I think they had I might be underselling them a little bit. I think they had 7 TFLs in the
it
game.
was it was something like that.
It
I
was it
I
was
mean,
something. Yeah, if you would
Texas
have told
barely
me
had any rushing yards.
they didn't, they couldn't run the ball, and that's part of the reason why Arizona State was able to come back because they kept trying to throw the ball because they couldn't run the ball, and that saved a bunch of time. Anyone who plays that plays college football 25 or Madden understands that you have to be able to run the ball to drain the clock, and that's exactly what Texas didn't do. But like you said, to Quinn Ewers' credit, he had one touchdown pass in the entirety of regulation against Arizona State. He had two, and he had one in each overtime. I mean, he was good when Texas needed him to be good. And like you said, he made that check, max protection, get a route to beat the covers that they were going to see. It's so hard to disguise that triple A gap blitz because you got to bring that safety down into the box behind the linebackers. You can't disguise it a whole lot,
No,
But
and I
but
do
no,
love I do love Kenny Dillingham. just as a human and as a coach in general. But him being able to come up to the stand after the game, be like, "Hey, that was my call. That's on me." Like it's just as a 34-year-old head coach, it's not the answer you really expect. Like
No,
honestly, but
no,
like you can tell he's the right kind of guy to be in this role
yes,
where he's like, hey, this is end all be all. It was on me, my call. This is what I wanted. This is how we taught that safety to play the coverage. Is the way he did it. He's like everything. He's like we did it how we wanted to. We just didn't get home. I couldn't love the trajectory of this Arizona State program more. They got
yep.
their quarterback for like Levitt's coming back for another year. He just announced it today, actually, that he's officially back at Arizona State, and he's going to be a sophomore next year, and so you got three like unless he goes to draft at some point, but you got 3 more years with that guy, and you got Dillingham doing his thing. You get your number one receiver back. You're having a Cam Scattaboo hole fill that they did with the Army running back. It's just
That's a huge get. Like that
huge.
Kanye that I mean that Kanye Udo guy from Army, he was 1,000 yard rusher as a fullback. I don't know if
Yeah,
there's really anyone who watched more Army football than I did this year.
probably not. Unless they have a kid on the team.
But Kanye Udo is a guy, man. Like he was 1,000 yard rusher as a fullback, and that's hard. That's hard to do. I know they ran the triple option, whatever, flexible, whatever. The guy does a really good job, especially when he was basically the number two rusher, the number two option as a runner compared to, Bryson Daly. But I'm not saying he's going to be a Cam Scattaboo, but he's going to be highly productive in that offense. I can tell you that right
I
now.
I agree. And then another like just note of what like they got both the Branch brothers to take a visit to Arizona State. Like
Like,
I know they didn't get them in the end, but the
but
fact
they were
that
there.
those are two. I think those are two guys in the top 10 of the portal. Like who's in the portal, and they
Yeah.
came to a visit Arizona State. Like I just think they're on the right path going forward. I don't. I don't. It's hard to say with this playoff. I don't think it's the last time we're going to see them in it though. I think they'll be back at some point in this near future. I think they're in a really good spot.
No, I do too. I think Arizona State gained a ton of fans over the course of this season,
hundred
especially the
percent.
and especially the way that, like you said, Kenny Dillingham handled business after the game. You saw how he it looks like he truly loves his players, and that's really refreshing to see. From because you see so many coaches that they try to put the hard hat on and they try to be stone faced and they don't show emotion. But Kenny Dillingham looks like he really loves his players and it looks like they love him back. So that's a huge deal.
Yeah, how many coaches are you seeing going to their podium after every game saying we need to pay these guys to keep them here? Like,
Nobody.
like nobody,
Nobody.
nobody.
Nobody. All right. That was our quarterfinal recap. Let's get into these semifinal games. First game we got is on Thursday. We have Penn State and Notre Dame going at it in the Orange Bowl. When I look at this game, I see two suffocating defenses with offenses that are okay. That's what I see. Now, Drew Aller at the end of the regular season, he was playing his best football. You go watch his tape in the Big Ten championship game, even though they didn't win. He played a great game in that game. As the playoffs have gone, he's been okay. It's he's there have been question marks as the games have gone. Um, the question really is going to be who can run the ball the best in this game. And that sounds like such a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason because it's true.
Yeah,
Especially when you look at these two teams.
yeah. No, I 100% agree. It's a real interesting matchup. It's just I'm very curious about the health of Jeremiah Love, about the health
Yes.
of Abdul Carter for Penn State. Like he didn't play the
Yes.
whole second half, I don't think, against Boise State. Al they have in the two playoff games, they haven't asked Aller to do a lot. They haven't
Nope.
and Notre Dame hasn't asked Riley Leonard to do much either. It's like it's two similar teams. You got two coaches that could really benefit on winning this game and getting that monkey off their back a little bit of just like especially James Franklin. He is just so known to lose these football games. And then
I mean the fact
Marcus Freeman's
the
been really you go ahead.
no, I was just saying the fact that James Franklin has won a playoff game in the first place.
It's 1-2.
People, I know that's what I'm saying. Like people were questioning, especially with his resume of not being able to win big games against good opponents. the fact that he's 2-0 in the playoff right now.
Yeah, just get him in the
Jeez,
dance, baby. Get him in the dance. They wanted him gone after they lost Ohio State. It's the crazy part.
I know.
Um, but it's two very similar teams. The sports books obviously don't know what to do with this one either. It's -1.5 for Notre Dame. I've seen it get to like -2.5 for Notre Dame. It's been up and down all week. It's a very interesting matchup that I don't think anybody knows. You know what like kind of football to expect. You just don't
Yep.
know who's going to do it better. It is the
Hmm.
interesting part to me.
Yep. No, I agree. I think the marquee matchup when you look at it at an individual level, I think Drew Aller is going to have to throw the ball to win the game. I think they're going to ask. I think Penn State is more willing to ask Drew Aller to go win you a football game than Notre Dame is willing to let go Riley Leonard go win a football game, and that's going to piss off Jackson Groff, and that's going to piss off Bryce Harrington. But they're not on the podcast right now, so I can say that. That's what I think. I think Drew Aller is going to be is a guy that you can go ask to win a football game, and that's going to be with his arm. If that's the case, I think the marquee matchup individually is going to be Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts, Omaha product, great guy, love that guy, and Penn State's Tyler Warren, the Mackey Award winner for best tight end in the country. That's going to be the marquee matchup, I think, because
Uh,
Xavier, he was the Chuck Bednarik Award winner for best defensive player in the country last year. He is a long, rangy, muscular safety. He is super athletic. Like I said, super smart, good kid. I played against him in high school. He's awesome. He's a stud. And then Tyler Warren, he's like one of those old school. He seems like an old school football player. He's wearing 44. This big rocked up dude that's going and catching balls, long hair, yada yada. That'll be the marquee matchup to watch. If you're looking for just a little tidbit out of this, that's the individual matchup you should watch in this game.
I agree 100%. I trust Drew Aller more than Riley Leonard in this game throwing the
Yes.
ball. Riley will be a factor with his legs, especially if Love's not good to go. It's an interesting matchup. I've been leaning both ways, I feel like, in this game of who's going to win. I think at the end of the day, I think Notre Dame's defense forces a turnover and they win. I don't know. I'm going with Drew Aller. I'm trusting Drew Aller. Penn
Are you?
State, Drew Aller. Give me Drew Aller and Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren game winning touchdown.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Like you said, I've been going back and forth on this game. If Jeremiah Love plays in this game, Notre Dame will win. I trust Drew Aller more than I trust Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard's not going to turn the ball over, but he's also not going to go and win you a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he hasn't turned the ball
That's
over in a while. That was an early season problem, and he hasn't had it in a minute. It's been
agreed.
unfortunate.
But
The
no,
guy's just a traitor. He left Duke for no reason. A traitor.
no, if Jeremiah Love plays in this game, which I think he will, Notre Dame will win this game. I think Notre Dame's defense is too good. I think that offensive line, if you haven't seen those O-line, that Notre Dame O-line pregame hype up video where their center is talking to them on right outside the entrance, go listen to that. That'll make you want to run through a wall. That gave me flashbacks, dude. That gave me
Yeah.
flashbacks listening to that. But I think Notre Dame's offensive line is superior. I think the running backs are superior. I think the defense is superior. Those three things are what you need to win football games baseline. Great defense, great running game.
Yeah.
Again, it sounds cliche, but it's true. They have been able to win these football games without Riley Leonard having to really take over a game. Now, they did get spotted. They got spotted 17 points against Georgia. It probably would have been a closer game than that, right? But you know what? I'll take Notre Dame. I'm gonna take Notre
Yeah.
Dame. And I
Yeah.
just I feel the arrow going through my heart as I say that.
I'm
But
just flipping a coin on this game pretty much. I feel like that's what all we're doing here with this
yep,
game. I
yep.
feel like you're going to watch the pregame show. It's going to be a split on the pregame show. It's going to be a split on anything you watch. Nobody knows what's really going to happen in this one. And I love
And
that.
it, and it's going to be a split at BarnBurner Sports. Look at us.
Yep. Look at us, just like the national
We're
media.
we're part of the problem.
Oh,
We're part of the problem. That's okay.
Joy, you want to know a problem? Joy Taylor is a problem.
The real problem is that we have the best clip in BarnBurner sports history, and we are not allowed to share it.
That is tough. If Joy Taylor wants
That's
to come work at BarnBurner Sports, she's welcome anytime.
I'm glad I'm glad you're the one sending the invitation out.
Somebody's got to.
All right, now last game that we're going to talk about. Texas and Ohio State are matching up in the Cotton Bowl. To me, there's no hotter team in college football right now than Ohio State. I think that you can unequivocally say that. And when I say that, and I pair that with this next statement, every time I watch a Texas game, I feel like I'm watching a Chiefs game.
The devil magic.
A little bit,
Yeah.
it's a creative offense. Sark does a great job with the offense. The defense, in this analogy where I'm comparing Texas to the Chiefs defense is obviously far superior in terms of production and
Yeah.
scheme and
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. I'm with
But
you.
what I'm saying, what the primary piece of that analogy is, it never feels like Texas is ever in control of a game, but all they
No.
do is win. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I'm 100% with you. I was watching the Arizona State game. Arizona State had 36 minutes of possession time compared to 22 and went to overtime.
Hmm.
Like, it's just, it kind of is similar. It kind of is similar. I don't hate that take at all. I don't disagree with either take you had there. I have no idea. I feel like Texas's defense is really good.
Yes.
They're really young still on defense, but they're really good. I just I have a hard time picking against this Ohio State team right now.
Yeah.
This Ohio State team is just dominant at the moment, and maybe me hopping on the wagon would really just boom take them to the ground. You know, it's just one of those things. But maybe it's just a all Big Ten. I think the Big Ten might just be better than everybody else.
Might just be
That
the
is,
Big Ten Invitational instead of the SEC Invitational.
it might just be. It might just be. I see no world that Ohio State loses this game, but I don't disagree with the point that Texas stays in these games somehow, and they just do what's needed. They don't really do like they're not blowing anybody out most of the time. Like they just kind of do what they need to do to win the game. Like even the game against Clemson, they let Clemson back in the game. They
Yep.
let they let Arizona State back into the game. If Texas has a big lead in this game, go put some money on Ohio State live money line because it probably will happen. And so it's just a 5.5 point spread doesn't feel like enough either. Oh my goodness, this game's got me messed up too.
Genuinely, I'm picking Ohio State.
Yeah, yeah, I
I'm picking
have
Ohio
to.
State
You're
to win
right.
this one.
I agree. They're
And
minus
it's
140 to win it all right now. Jeez.
Jesus. I mean, what? How else can you say that they shouldn't be the favorite to win the whole thing at this point?
No, I don't disagree with it.
You know what I'm saying? They haven't shown anything throughout the playoff besides sheer and utter dominance. Whether it be the Tennessee game, whether it be this last week's game against Oregon, who was supposed to be, like we said, the number one team in the country.
Yeah.
Been nothing but dominant so far in this playoff. I'm going to pick them to beat Texas because I will never believe in a team who cannot take control and then keep control of a game. I will never have faith. That's why I don't think the Chiefs are going to do very well in this upcoming playoff.
Oh,
I will never
don't. They're
believe.
gonna clip it. They're gonna clip it.
I,
Don't say it. They're gonna clip it.
I will never believe in a team that cannot take control and keep control of a game. I will not. That is why I'm picking Ohio State. That is why I think Texas will lose in the semifinals.
Yeah, put me down for Ohio State too. I think you're right. It's just I don't want you to be right in this situation.
I just don't want to see a
Oh,
specific.
Notre Dame, Ohio State. Oh, no, I might boycott that. I might not watch it. There's got to be something else on January 20th. There's got to be.
Where's the American Cornhole Association playoffs? Where are those at?
Anything. I'll just go stream on Twitch for the night and just play NCAA the whole time and just not even
What
just
what if we do that? What if me and you just play each other for like 7 hours during the pregame show and then and then during the game and then the postgame show instead of watching
do-
the Ohio State Notre Dame game?
doesn't sound like a terrible idea to me.
No, doesn't sound like a terrible idea to me either.
Oh, those are just two fan bases that are so loud
They're
and
so
just
annoying.
and then you got Ohio State fans here. Here's my Ohio State fans are like, we haven't won since 2015 or whatever it was. I'm like, bitch, that's 10 years ago. And then you got Notre Dame fans saying, oh, we're just happy to be here. And then the game starts, and then they're just like, we need to win this game. I'm like, you can't have it both ways. Like you gotta pick a side. Oh my goodness, we need one of these teams to lose. I mean, like, not saying the Texas fan base is any better. They're not as loud on my timeline as the other two. I
Yeah,
don't know about
no,
everybody
no,
else.
I agree.
Ugh.
I will say, going back to Notre Dame, I am happy that Marcus Freeman is doing well. He seems like one of the real good guys in college football. I'm happy he's doing well. Wish there was a different logo.
Yeah, that guy only became Catholic because they lost to Marshall. If you don't remember that, lose to Marshall, and you're like second game as a head coach. Oh, I got to become Catholic now. Expedited process. So I'm coaching at Notre Dame.
Oh,
I think that's one of the things too. Growing up Catholic, everybody's got all these Catholics have a Notre Dame sweatshirt just chilling in the back of the closet.
yeah,
That when the BCS thing came around, when they were in
yeah,
it, then they threw it
yeah,
on, throw it back in the closet until they're good again. Now they're all
yeah,
out. Oh, it's just one. At least Ohio State fans, like they're consistent. You know what you're
yeah,
getting. They're there every year because they're good every year. Maybe they fire Ryan Day if he loses to Marcus Freeman and they put Marcus Freeman as their head coach because he is an alum. He's an
He's an
Ohio State
alum,
alum.
Ohio State alum.
People keep saying Marcus Freeman's not going anywhere. I'm like, if that Ohio State door opened, I'd bet he'd be running right through it because they can pay more, probably double what Notre Dame's paying somehow. They'd probably do it.
You know what? Speaking of which, did you see? So when you win these college football playoff
Yeah,
games, you
$15 million.
you get a payout, right?
Your conference.
But that the conference gets the payout. Notre Dame being an independent, instead of that 14 or 15 million dollars going to the conference to be split up amongst everybody else in the conference, Notre Dame just got a direct deposit of 14 million dollars.
And you know what's bullshit about that?
What you got?
It's just the fact that these players that have got them into this situation don't get anything. They don't get anything at all. They just are happy to be there. There's going to be new academic buildings going up everywhere on Notre Dame's campus, and there's going to be maybe a small addition to their facility for any, probably not even football. It's going to be a different sport. It's just so dumb. So dumb. It's so dumb.
I don't see anyone going into a chemistry classroom and reporting on who does well on a chemistry test and who failed. No, no, it doesn't happen. Doesn't
And
happen.
it's and I didn't mean to direct that just at Notre Dame. It's a problem for
It's
like
no, it's an
it's a
everywhere.
whole problem. Like you're telling me that Penn State kids and Ohio State kids that won those games shouldn't get paid either? They should. Like it's just it's in like Texas wins for the SEC and now all the SEC schools get money. Like what? How does this work?
Oh,
Like Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt gets a payout. Look at us. Look at
Oh,
that. Look at that.
Dylan,
Oh.
Diego Pavia gets to benefit from this? No, I hate that guy. He ruined college football. He's ruined high school recruiting. I feel bad for every high schooler that's out there right now going through the recruiting process because this guy's an asshole.
That's that's a whole other conversation that we can save for another pod. But no, you're right. You're right. That whole situation added a whole new layer of complexity to the recruiting process. I will
Yeah,
give you
because now all these high schoolers go JUCOs. They're going to hate JUCO because JUCO sounds like it sucks, and they're going to quit. Now all these guys aren't going to make it to like actual colleges.
that.
Oh, don't get me
Oh,
don't get me started about that. That also back to Notre Dame, Penn State under 45 and a half. There we go.
that's a good. That's a good. That's bold. That's bold, especially after Ohio State just dropped 41.
I was going back to Notre Dame, Penn State.
Oh,
So
sorry. Sorry. That's me.
Ohio
You know
State,
what?
Texas over 53 and a half.
That's better. I like that
There,
much better.
there we
There
go.
we go.
There we go. We
All
like that one.
right. I like that one a lot better. All right. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off here?
Um, just hoping for some good games here. Some highly competitive football is all I want. Um, Notre Dame or Ohio State, one of them has to lose. It just has to happen. That is my closing thoughts. One needs to lose for the rest of the world to enjoy Monday, January 20th.
Who is your national champion?
Penn State. Penn State.
Man, I don't want to say I'm hopping on the bandwagon, but Ohio State looks like the best team in the country.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State's going to win it, and I will stay off of TikTok because there's one specific TikToker that I do not want to get bombarded with.
He just wants to be on the
House
pod.
cat.
That's all it wants.
Well, if he wanted to be on the pod, he'd post a couple clips every once in a while.
Hey, maybe we'll post that one.
There you go. See,
He's
that'll be
gonna.
his test. That'll be his test right there to see if he watches these. That'll be his test right there. All right, ladies and gents, we're hoping for another great week of college football. We're coming down to the wire. Let's appreciate these games while we have them because it's going to be a long time at the end of the season when we don't. Let's have a great weekend. Let's watch some ball. Let's have fun. See you guys next week.